It was up to everybody out there. Welcome to another edition of the Roundtable Talk. I am your host, C Money, and I would like to say Happy Juneteenth. Today is not officially Juneteenth, but today is the day that we're celebrating Juneteenth in the year 2021. It's because Juneteenth falls on a Saturday, and big ups to President Joe Biden for making Juneteenth an actual holiday. It has been said that Juneteenth is the first holiday to be the first holiday to be put into a holiday since Dr. Martin Luther King Day. So big ups to Joe Biden for doing that, and happy Juneteenth to everybody, and to say hey to everybody who have descendants that was from Juneteenth. We are here today at, as you know, like most of my episodes, I've been doing episodes at different various locations throughout the South Florida area, and today I'm at one of known park, which is not really known, but it's a park that's known for its name. It's called the Athlete Range Park, which is named after one of the first African American females to be on the Miami Commissioner as one of the first African American female commissioners in Miami. I can't say if it's the city of Miami or if it's the commission of the Miami-Dade, because remember there's the Miami-Dade County and then the city of Miami. So either or, but back then this probably was all joined together, and she was one of the first female African American females, I should say, to be on the city of or to be on the Miami City Commissioner. And also she owned a funeral home, which is still in business today, called Range Funeral Home, which is not too far from where I reside at as place of residency. Today I want to talk about a few things. I want to talk about, certain things. You know, we've been for the past couple of months and for the past year, most of my episodes I've been talking about COVID-19, the coronavirus, and for the past couple of months we've been talking about the vaccines, and recently we've been talking about restrictions and laws, and how the CDC guidelines and everything. And I have my mask on right here, but as you can see, it's kind of hot outside, so I'm relaxing myself from wearing my mask. But that doesn't mean I don't wear my mask, because regardless if I'm vaccinated or not vaccinated, I still wear my mask. And now I just want to talk about opening. In today's topic, I want to talk about opening up. And everything. How you know how you think that we should open up as the pandemic goes on. And I told you in the previous episode that we did that we was talking about how a lot of these businesses are allowing people to ease up on wearing their masks, and I felt as if it was a bad thing to do, because I felt like a lot of these companies are now, easing up on mask restrictions. And it's up to the customers and the patrons that are going inside these businesses to ask them if they want to mask up or not. And I saw on the news where actually they said that it is against the law for any company to ask you, have you been vaccinated? Which I think is understandable, but you need to also realize, if you're enforcing the laws of, if you got vaccinated, you wear the mask. If you have the option to wear the mask. If you didn't get vaccinated, you have to wear the mask. And if you're not asking people, have they been vaccinated, and if it's against the law, how are you enforcing the people who haven't gotten vaccinated to wear the mask? That's the thing that I'm not getting, and that's the thing that has a problem with me. Because I've been in places where I've seen like maybe 50 or 60 people at one time, and I'm like, I know these out of these 50 or 60 people, one or two of these people have not gotten vaccinated, and they're around here walking around here without a mask. It's the same thing if you go in a club. If you go in a club, you know, the dancers or all the DJs, the bartenders, all these people vaccinated. You know, I don't think it's need to be required by companies for you to get vaccinated or you lose your job. Remember in the last episode I mentioned that 200 workers from a hospital got suspended because they did not get vaccinated. I don't think that it's required for you to get vaccinated, because like I said, the vaccine is not for everybody. There are people who have health conditions that can't get the vaccine, and then there are people who get symptoms from the vaccine, or, like I said, there have people that have side effects from the vaccine. So a lot of people cannot take the vaccine. So It shouldn't be required by businesses and by jobs to have their employees get vaccinated. Unless, I would say the only people that I would say that would need to be vaccinated fully is the people that works in the healthcare business. If you're a doctor, nurse, or anybody that works in a healthcare facility, I believe it's required because you're working around sick people. But in other moves, if you're in a restaurant, if you're a driver, bus driver, any teacher, principal, lawyer, whatever business or whatever person you is, either you work at McDonald's, Burger King, doesn't matter. It shouldn't be required that you get vaccinated, and then that's the thing that been triggering me, like, it's kind of hard to find out how we moving forward with this coronavirus, but you're easing up restrictions when we're not at 100%. We're not, you know, fully there to say, okay, let's just stop having masks. You still have public transportation that's requiring you to wear masks. You still have ride share programs like Lyft and Uber that are requiring you to wear masks. You still have all of these places that are requiring you to have masks on. But in these businesses, you're telling them, oh, you can ease up on restrictions. You can ease up on this. You can ease up on that. And you don't have to do social distancing and all that. But and I look at it as if that's just crazy because right now we're not we're still in a pandemic. We're still in a situation. The cases may not be up, but the cases are still there. There are still at least 1 out of 5 people every day is getting contracted by the virus. And now that they have the vaccine, it's more controllable, but you have to realize something. We are not going to be out of this until next year. And it's going to be another year before they say, oh, everybody can stop wearing their masks. Because, you know, when I go in these, and I go in a lot of businesses, and this is the one thing that questions me too. These people say, wash your hands every 20 seconds, with hot water. Wash your hands for 20 seconds with hot water and soap. And if you don't have hot water, hand sanitizer. Everybody should have hand sanitizer in their pocket. I do. I have a couple, and I also have hand sanitized wipes, and also Clorox wipes. And if you're in a business like a supermarket, maybe Walmart, Target, Publix, wherever you at, they should have hand sanitizer. Even in other businesses, casinos, schools, wherever you go at, every business should have hand sanitizer stations throughout their business. And I've been in a lot of businesses where some places they only have one hand sanitizer station, and that's in the front entrance. And then other businesses have hand sanitizer stations, but they're out and they don't refuel them. So how are you going to have a person shop in a store and don't have hand sanitizer? Grocery stores are one of the most common places to get the coronavirus. Let me give you an example. I have a bottle of water here. Let's say this was a bottle of soda. You get the soda and you like, oh, I don't want the soda. You put the soda back. This person then already touched the soda. Now the next person coming is going to touch the soda and get the soda, regardless if it's in the front of the case or in the back of the case. Now, regardless if that person have coronavirus or not, they have put whatever they had on their hands on this soda because I'm quite sure they haven't sanitized their hand or washed their hands before they touch that beverage. Now, it's the same thing as you go into a clothing store, the same way. Now, a lot of these clothing stores have um, just temporarily stopped trying on clothes in fitting rooms, which is good. But it's still the same thing. These people are touching these clothes, and then they look at them. They put it to their body to make it see if it looks right, and then they don't. They put it back on the rack. Their body and their hands are touching it. Now, are you going around? Now, I was in a mall recently, and I seen one of the stores where the lady had a steamer, and the steamer she was steaming the clothes. That's a good way of taking care of your clothes. Now I know some of these clothes, you wash them, they fade. So companies can't wash their clothes, but they at least have something to clean the clothes off that will kill viruses and stuff. So when the next customer come in and want to try on the outfit or dress or shirt or whatever, it should be that it's free from, you know, coronavirus, any bacteria or anything that's there because you're not sanitized. Just like when you go in a shoe store. I've been in shoe places where people trying on shoes and then they got to go right back on the rack when they're too big or they're too small or they'll fit or whatever, and they go back on the rack, and then you're not having nobody come around and spraying the shoes or wiping the shoes down to say, okay, this person touched the shoes, and I look at it as if that's not safety protocols. And now they're trying to ease up restrictions on masks and all this, but I say we're still in a pandemic. You're looking at these things as if we're getting back to normal. We're never going to get back to normal for another year or two. We're not going to get back normal. You know, we are now in the middle of 2021. It's almost a year since the coronas. It's been over a year since the coronas began, and we still haven't gotten to down to phase 4. You believe me? We're in maybe phase 2. There are people are saying we're in phase 3. Phase 4 is when everything gets back to normal. I still think we're in phase 2. You know, phase 3 is when you can actually say that, you know, everybody can start wearing their masks in a big setting, you know, because you have these places that are still requiring masks. You go in a corner store, you still have to wear a mask. You go in a restaurant, you still have to wear a mask. You go into clothing stores, you still have to wear a mask. You know, it's not easy for us to jump back into normalcy that easily. And that's the thing that President Biden wanted as he became the president. He said in his, you know, when they had the presidential debate, that I want to open things back up slowly and safely, which I believe is straight. And by you saying, okay, hey, let's open these things back up, by you saying, hey, the CDC saying, oh, you ain't got to wear a mask if you got vaccinated. But then again, you have it where if you have 10,000 people that got vaccinated, you still have 5,000 that haven't got vaccinated. So you still have half of people in the United States that still haven't gotten vaccinated, and some are not going to get vaccinated. So it's like, how are you going to get back to normal? Are you going to come with a contingency plan? Are you going to come up with a plan for people to actually say, okay, hey, let's do something to make it more safer for these people to actually go out into the public? Because I know there's people that are still without jobs. There's people that are still, you know what I'm saying, you know, and some people got homeless. Some people still without their jobs. Some people haven't gotten back to work yet. Some people still on government assistance. Some people still, on food stamps, still on unemployment. Some people it's kind of hard out here. So how are you getting people back up into thing? How are you getting people back up into, the normalcy? You know, like my job only gave brought back a few people. They haven't brought back a full amount of people because they haven't opened up completely. And that's what a lot of jobs are opening back up completely. Most restaurants just started back letting people in to eat, and then you still have some restaurants that are still banning restrictions on eating inside their restaurants. Not all restaurants are allowing their customers to eat, and if they are, they only allow them to eat outside. They're not allowing their customers to eat on the inside, and there's still restrictions on certain places. So I look at it as if, how are we getting back to normalcy? What do you think that our normalcy should be? Do you honestly believe, my question to y'all is, do you honestly believe that there should be a lift on mask wearing everywhere? Or do you believe that mask wearing should be continued until we get into a better state of mind? Because that's what I feel. I feel people still should be wearing the mask regardless of where we're at in this pandemic, because we're not far from over yet. We're only maybe 60 to 70% in, over this pandemic. We're not 100%. You're not going to be 100% until you get at least 80 to 90% of the people vaccinated, number one. Number two, you're not going to be over it until you see that there really isn't that many cases. You get 1 to 2 cases a day across the country. And you're getting about 10, 20, 30 cases in each state, maybe more, going up, you know. So it's like, and then you're not going to get back to normal until you start teaching people on how to do safety protocols. You have people like homeless people, people, what I'm saying, who's out here trying to find food, and people out here, they're walking around talking in front of people, all them people faces begging and doing all this stuff. How you going to do this stuff when You have these people out here doing things that, look at you like, wow, how can you get back to normalcy when you have a lot of people out here doing these bad things? You have crime going up because people shooting and killing to protect their kids or to feed their kids. You got crime going around. You got parties going down with like 30, 40 people and 100 people at a club dancing on each other and all of this, and people not social distancing. How are you going to get back to normalcy when you're not applying these rules to everybody? I see businesses with that clubs promoting businesses, and they're not telling people that masks are required. And I'm like, I now tell myself, I'm not going into a place where everybody walking around without a mask and there's no social distancing and people all up on people and stuff like that, because we're not far from done yet. We're not far from this pandemic. And people don't understand that. They just feel like, oh, I'm free. I can wear without a mask. But then the next day, oh, I'm feeling the symptoms. That's because the day before you walked around without a mask, thinking that it was cool. Now you're walking with a mask. You know what I'm saying? I'm here at Athlete Range Park. Right now, it is considered a holiday. So there are people across the street from Athlete Range. It's a school called Miami Edison Senior High School. Right now, it's a holiday. So the most government buildings, particularly probably the parks as well, is closed. Now it is open to the public, maybe to come in, maybe play basketball or maybe exercise. But as far as the activity stuff, it is closed. As I walk through the park, I see that the playground is still roped off, meaning that you can't go play at the playground. But when I did my last video, which we was at Charles Hadley Park, their playground was open. Now the pools down here are still closed because most, you know, a lot of the parks down here have pools. The pools are still closed. Now, to my knowledge, I don't know if every pool is closed, but I know majority of the pools are closed due to coronavirus and due to, the pandemic. But I look at it as if right now there's nobody in the park. And, it's in the afternoon, I'm social distancing, I'm not around anybody, so I'm being me. Now, I got my mask on hand because I need it at all times because you never know when you have to go inside of a store or when you have to go somewhere that requires a mask. And still public transportation, you require a mask. And a lot of these businesses still require masks. And that's why I say, we're not far from over yet because the day that they say no businesses require you to wear a mask is the day that we can be cool. I still go inside businesses where they tell you, you have to have on your mask. Even though the CDC guidelines tell you that if you are vaccinated, you can go in without a mask. Even if you go, what I'm saying, most of these businesses still require you to have a mask. And that's why I say it is not over yet. And a lot of these people thinking that we're getting back to normalcy. We're not getting back to normalcy because we still have cases going on. We still have people that have not getting vaccinated. We still have people without jobs. We still have people fighting to get money. We still have people out here trying to, get jobs. You know. And another thing that is questioning me is that there are jobs hiring, but the jobs that are hiring are Burger King, McDonald's, fast food industry and fast food restaurants and restaurants you see in shopping malls and stuff like that. A lot of these people who are executives, who was managers, who was retail managers, who was had high-end jobs, you're not expecting them to go to a low-end job like Burger King or McDonald's. Not saying that Burger King and McDonald's is a low-end job, but it's a job that if you're making $30, $40 an hour, why would you go work at somewhere making minimum wage when you was making money that could make you thousands and thousands of dollars? And now you need to go work at a low budget job that's only making minimum wage. So a lot of these people that are still, business haven't opened up, they're still out of a job, so they're still fighting. You know, there are people that are say back in the day, like I would say, I told myself to too. I've never worked at a fast food restaurant a day in my life, and I don't say that I would never work in one. It's just that something that doesn't fit my criteria. But if they offered me a job and I needed to work in fast food, I would do it for the money because I need it. But it's just a simple fact. There are a lot of people that had executive positions, senior vice president. They had these high-end jobs that had to be let go because of COVID-19 protocols. And now they're out there screaming to try to find another job that fits the same description of the job they have, But it's hard because a lot of these places are, what I'm saying, like a lot of these businesses, they're hurting for money because they can't open up 100% because they're lost. My company lost a lot of money during the pandemic, and right now, it's hard for them because when we first opened back up, we lost a lot of revenue, and our product all had to be thrown away, and they had to take a cost, part of revenue. Maybe they got insurance to cover the cost and all that, but a lot of these businesses lost revenue, and now they have to cut corners to try to get their revenue back. Especially these mom and pop businesses that was closed. A lot of these businesses, like I did an episode a while back that stated that a lot of these businesses, like Sweet Tomatoes, um, Golden Corral, not Golden Corral, Sweet Tomatoes, Payless, a lot of these businesses that was open are now closed because the pandemic. They couldn't get in a pandemic. Sweet Tomatoes was a vegetarian buffet, and a lot of these people are not going to buffets because buffets are not, places you gotta have sneeze guards. I recently went to um, Golden Corral, and Golden Corral you have to have on gloves every time you enter the buffet area. You have to have on a mask and a glove because you have to touch the utensils that what I'm saying, that you have to scoop the food with. And I like their protocols. But a lot of these businesses like Sweet Tomatoes, I've seen the movie theaters, a lot of these places, had to shut down because they couldn't survive in the pandemic because of they wasn't making money. I seen a lot of businesses and a lot of restaurants had to shut down. Not just mom and pop restaurants, but chain restaurants. Chain restaurants I've seen. Sweet Tomatoes is a chain restaurant. They had to shut down. Um, Chuck E. Cheese was supposed to be, closing half of its stores because it couldn't operate, even though it's not really a restaurant, but it's like a family fun center for kids and families. A lot of these places had to shut down and had to close. A place that I like to go to, Apex Parks, which is which is the park that also owns Boomers, which is, part of our hotspots in South Florida segment. They had to shut some of its doors last year. And I don't know if it was due to the pandemic, but you could kind of figure that it had something to do with it because once you had to close your doors, it's hard to try to keep revenue. My job let everybody go. When I first got that call for my job in maybe early 2020, they told me my last day of work was July 31st and August 1st. My benefits and everything would be gone. But when I got the call in December of last year, my boss told me everybody had got terminated. What they told me in a letter, they gave me a phone call and they put it in a letter. 50% of the company had to be terminated. But when my boss told me in December was all of the company had to be terminated. And the reason is for that is because even though you're not working, it costs to keep people on your payroll. Like for instance, the people that are working at my job now, they have to pay to keep them on their payroll. It may sound funny, but that's what businesses are. And if they're not making any money, they have to let go of their workers. And then within the pandemic, a lot of these businesses couldn't pay their workers and couldn't pay their rent, and a lot of these businesses had to shut down. Some businesses shut down temporarily. Some businesses had to shut down completely. There are a few nightclubs and a few clubs that I knew of in Miami that had to shut down. They shut down during because of the pandemic. And during the pandemic, they was posting and doing all of this stuff and saying, "Oh, we're gonna be opening back up" and stuff like that. But then, come down to it, they had to close because of the fact that they couldn't keep afloat during the pandemic. Now, maybe some of their social media platforms or social media pages are still up, but their websites are down, and a lot of these places they had to close. Not just clubs, but restaurants as well too. And if you go on um, Google and list and go look up restaurants and businesses that have closed due to the pandemic, you will see that there are tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of restaurants. Most of them are local restaurants in local cities, because I've seen some restaurants that I've never heard of in different other states and different other cities. And then most of them are national restaurants, just like Sweet Tomatoes. And it's like, wow, how can you come about from this? So if you tell me that businesses that making multi-million dollar businesses cannot survive in a pandemic? What makes you think little businesses can survive in a pandemic? And that's why a lot of these people are hurting still, because most of these people were CEOs, and most of these people were presidents and vice presidents and managers and supervisors making 13, 14, $20 an hour, and you come in one day and bam, your job is gone, your business is closed. You're a manager or a CEO of a store location, and you're making $30, $40 an hour, and then you come in one day, we have to close the store because of the pandemic, and then you wait for them to open back up, and they send out a letter saying, we cannot open back up. We are closing. Thank you for everything. Goodbye. And then on the heart of the day, you feel like, I thought I was coming back to work, but I can't come back to work because now my business is closed down permanently. So how do you come back from that? And for these businesses to sit up here and say, oh, we're getting back to normal, and for the government and for everybody to say, we're getting back to normal, let's start doing these masks and let's start easing up restrictions. To me, we're not there yet, because you still have protocols to get to that level. We still have steps and things to get to that level. And a lot of these steps and things, it's getting hard. It's getting harder. It's still to this day. I see people on Facebook and on social media still going at it. Well, oh, I didn't get my stimulus. One of my coworkers still didn't get their stimulus. A lot of people still didn't get their stimulus, whether it's the first stimulus, the second stimulus, or the third stimulus. And now they're saying that it's supposed to be a fourth stimulus, and I'm like, yes, they need to be chucking out stimuluses every 2 to 3 months, because you have to realize there are people out there that are still out of work and that cannot go to work because the type of work they did. You got people with college education degrees. You got people with bachelor and associate degrees. That had high end jobs, and now they have to be forced to work in low end jobs just so they can survive. No, they want to do something that's in their line of field. And that's why I say, we're far from over with this pandemic, and people don't realize that. And a lot of people thinking that, oh, it's okay to walk around without a mask, it's okay to sit up here and do things, and do what we need to do. You know what I'm saying? You got to put this on to get back to normalcy. And to get back to normalcy, we got to keep doing this until next year. And I believe that it is up to people to start exercising that right. You know, like I said, I believe in myself that we are not ready to open up the world 100%. And that's what the government is trying to do, because a lot, like one of my coworkers said, and I said it in my last episode, and like what people saying, the economy is hurting. Businesses want to get back to 100% where they can start making money. A lot of these people want to get back to working where they can start paying their bills. But you have to realize something. We're not out of the woods yet. We got into the woods. We're still walking in the woods, but we're not out of the woods yet. And to get out of the woods, we got to control this thing. Businesses have to start using sanitizer stations throughout their locations. Businesses have to practice social distancing even in stage 3 or stage 4. We still have to practice social distancing. One of my favorite supermarkets, Save a Lot. There was one not too far from my house. I love Save a Lot, and I know there's over 900 stores across the country because they said it. They're closing. They close majority, like they close a percentage of their South Florida locations. The one by where I stay at, the one by where my brother stays at. They close a percentage of their locations, and I'm like, wow. And I'm wondering why. They never told me why, but because they closed earlier this year. But I had a gut feeling that it has something to do with cutting costs and the pandemic. Because a lot of these supermarkets and a lot of these stores and a lot of these restaurants have to close down because they feel as if they're not making the money that they need to make to keep up in business. You may make $10 and $20 in sales, but how is that going to affect when your rent is 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,000 dollars a month, and you're only making $10, $20 a day? You know, it's not like Burger King and McDonald's that keeps afloat. It's not like Wendy's and Checkers. You have these businesses that can keep afloat because they have the backup of the corporation. But you have these mom and pop restaurants, and you have these small little mom and pop, chains that sits up here, and they're like, wow, how can we afloat during this pandemic when there's a lot of stuff going around? So you have to look at these factors and weigh in these factors as if what can we do to stay afloat. I want to know what y'all feel about us getting back to normalcy. I want to know what y'all feel about these businesses and their restrictions. I want to know what y'all feel about everything that's going down. I want you to comment at the bottom of this page. You can also send us an email, roundtable00@yahoo.com. I also, you can also send me questions and comments on this bottom of this page, and also you can send questions and comments at roundtable00@yahoo.com. If you have anything or any topic you want me to discuss, you can feel free to ask me. Like I said, comment at the bottom of this page, email me, roundtable00@yahoo.com. I would like to know what y'all think. I would like to know what y'all think about this episode. And don't forget to check out our previous episodes. Don't forget to check out our segments, Hotspot in South Florida, where we look at locations throughout South Florida that are places to go to. If you come down and visit or whatever, that's fine. Or if you're in South Florida, you want to know a place to go, let me know. And if you know any hotspots in your city, email me, comment, and let me know. I appreciate everybody for watching this episode. This is another edition of the Roundtable Talk. Stay safe, mask up, be safe. I am your host, C Money, and I will see you next time. Stay safe and stay blessed.